keep on. And I was waiting, y'all. I was waiting for it to get to the don't stop, but it kept on saying, keep on, keep on, keep on. Because the record was scratched. And because the record was scratched, it couldn't move forward on its own. But I knew what to do. So I went over, I reached down, I picked the needle up and moved it, just moved it forward. Because it was stuck, because the record was scratched, because I played it over and over and over again. And at some point it got scratched. And when it got scratched, the record got stuck on keep on. And what it says is Moses had to uproot. He had to rip out, he had to break Israel away from the banks of the sea because they were content with the victory that God did in their history, so much so that they didn't even want to move beyond the good thing that they had. But Moses understood that in order to get their next victory, he had to uproot them. He had to rip them away from the past victory so that God could bless them with the next victory. But in reality, they got stuck in party mode. How many of us have gone to college and we can be honest enough to admit that when we finally got free, when we finally got away from mama and them, when we finally got on our own, we went to every party that they threw on campus. We drank everything that wasn't held down, and we cut so many classes that they should have put us out. But how many of you know that God is able to give you your next victory despite your last victory? And Moses said, listen, I got to lead them from the Red Sea so that I can get them to a place called Shur. But watch this, because if you don't leave your last victory, you're going to be uncertain about your next victory. Because God was never going to re-divide the Red Sea ever again. And so if they had stayed at the Red Sea, they would have missed out on what God was going to do next in their lives. Look at somebody and you can tell whether or not they still stuck at their Red Sea experience because they ain't moved yet. Just look at them. You can look at them and tell if they're still partying about the trophies on their mantelpiece. Just look at them and tell. You can tell if they're still walking by looking at the certificates on the wall. But I got one question this morning. I know what you did back then, but what you gonna do? To tell somebody what you gonna do. What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? But this didn't make sense to me. This didn't make sense to me until I thought about my very first record. My LP, my very first album. I remembered my very first record. Yeah, record. And my very first record, y'all, was Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. Oh, God. That was my very first record. I love that record. Played that record so much. I listened to all the favorites. I Want to Rock With You. All night. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. I listened to Working Day and Night. I loved it. I listened to She's Out of My League, Out of My Life. She's Out of My Life. But my very favorite record on there was Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I told y'all I played that record over and over and over. I played it every time, turn it on, I played that record over and over again. And so since Don't Stop Till You Get Enough was my favorite song, every time I turned it on, I played it over and over again. And one day, don't y'all make me hit my moves in here. I played that record over and over and over and over again. I played it over because I loved it. And so one day when I played it, the record got to a place where it said, keep on the force. But it didn't get to the don't stop. It kept repeating It kept repeating, keep on. Keep on. And I was waiting, y'all. I was waiting for it to get to the don't stop. But it kept on saying, keep on. Keep on. Keep on. Because the record was scratched. And because the record was scratched, it couldn't move forward on its own. But I knew what to do. So I went over. I reached down. I picked the needle up and moved it. Just moved it forward. Because it was stuck, because the record was scratched, because I played it over and over and over again. And at some point it got scratched. And when it got scratched, the record got stuck on keep on. And can I talk to somebody in here this morning? That's exactly what Moses did. Moses recognized that the Israelites were going to keep on at the Red Sea. And Moses said, I know that God wants you to don't stop till you get enough. So Moses went over, picked up the needle and moved it forward. Can I help somebody in here this morning? I just come by to help somebody. I just want to pick up your needle and move it forward. You still stuck on your problems. You still stuck on your pain. You still stuck on what didn't happen. I just want to pick up the needle and move it forward. So when you leave here this morning, you ought to go home, pick up the needle and move it forward. You ought to go back to your job, pick up the needle and move it forward. You ought to look in the mirror and say, Lord, I thank you for my life, but I've got to pick up the needle and to tell somebody, I got to pick up the needle and move it forward. Why? Because you can't get stuck in last year's victory. You can't get stuck in the last victory God worked for you. God has some new victories for you.
We really hope you enjoyed that message. Consider joining our text club to be inspired and encouraged. Simply text LWBC to 28748. Also, join us on social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. And don't forget, if you live in the Atlanta metro area, we hope to see you each and every Sunday morning.